We are here with another Cats and Rats live stream. I'm your host, Kirby Lupo, joined alongside my Canadian brethren, my good friend, Ryburn, a regular. How's it going, Ryburn?
Good, Kirby. Always a pleasure to hang out and talk some hockey. How you doing?
Awesome. Yeah, I know we have you around during playoff time when, our teams battle. We can get into that a little bit later here, but we've had a busy week here on our YouTube channel live stream channel. Thank you to everyone at the post game yesterday. Huge numbers. The Montreal Canadiens and Florida Panthers post-game show. Ryburn, I know you know Montreal really well. Those fans come out in droves. Some of them dropped by last night. Hey, win or loss, we're here. So appreciate all those clicks and interactions last night with Habs Nation there as the Panthers fall there in overtime. We're going to be around for the Winter Classic here. Tomorrow we're going to do a members-only show on January 1st and obviously January 2nd. We're going to be here for the live stream. So if you guys are listening to us on the replay, make sure to join us on the live stream on January 2nd. If you're not going to be at Lone Depot Park, join us here over on the YouTube channel side here on the Cats and Rats. But we are here today for the Canadian roster announcement. And Ryburn, I know we have it here. I'll pull it up for us here and we'll take a look at this and we are going to break it down in full. And just to let everyone know, we're going to get to the roster snubs here. There's some big storylines. Ryburn, like there is every year, like how far do you go back with Team Canada? What gets talked about? The roster here that we're seeing more or the snubs?
Oh, that's pretty close. I mean, maybe it depends on who you're listening to or where you're listening from, but certainly the snubs get talked about a lot, and there's definitely some names that are going to generate some conversation here today between the two of us, and names you're going to hear for weeks and weeks and weeks being talked about that are left off this roster.
Yeah, I don't want to go way back in time, but we're going to talk about mainly Team Canada stuff today. We might mention a little stuff at the end about the Olympics and predictions and things like that. Now that we do see the initial Team Canada roster, but we still need to see Team USA's roster. We need to see the other teams here over the following weeks. But it harkens me back to 1998. It was talked more about the snubs at the time than the actual team. And I did not like that team, Ryburn, in 1998. And what did they do? They did not medal. I didn't like the roster makeup of that team. Rob Zamner over Theron Fleury, and there were some other decisions there. Obviously, how Crawford coached that team, leaving Wayne Gretzky on the bench in the shootout. I didn't like that team from the beginning. And some people always get upset at me. Hey, you know how I am with hockey. I tell it like it is. And I'm very encouraged with this team. We haven't seen, best on best competition Olympics for 8 years now, 2 Olympics. And I really like this team. People are going to talk about the depth, Ryburn. People are going to bring up the goaltending again. But what mattered last year in Four Nations, the cream of the crop, the best players at the top.
100%.
Yeah. So if you want to dress like kind of those top players from the top that were named to the team originally, the Crosbys, McDavids, McKinnons, McCarrs, I think this is what this team's built off of. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think when you look, starting with the forwards, maybe we'll start with the forwards.
Okay.
So I think when you look at what the potential first power play could be when you look at some of the names here, right? Like Celebrini, Crosby, McKinnon, McDavid, it probably makes sense to split those guys up a bit, but it just tells you the depth of this team in terms of just the absolute top end of the skill spectrum in this league, right? Such an insane amount of depth. There's definitely some role players here, right? Guys you think about Cirelli and Hagel. You're super familiar with those two guys, obviously, with the battle between Florida and Tampa that's been super high profile this year. Some fun games, but yeah, the depth is one thing that stands out to me, and just the balance, right? The mix between the skill and then I just talked about the sort of the grit and role players that Cirelli, Hagel, and maybe the biggest surprise on this list for forwards for some people, Tom Wilson, right? He's making the cut after getting what some people thought was a snub during the Four Nations tournament. So it'll be super interesting to see him in action as well. But yeah, looking at this forward group, pretty scary for the opposing country's decors, right? Thinking about how to stop some of these guys. So yeah, that's what I see when I look at the forwards. I see some insane skill, and then there are some elite other things too.
Yeah, we'll stick with the forwards here for a few minutes here because I got some questions for you and things like that. I'm going to show later on what my lineup was about 2-3 weeks ago, Ryburn. And again, that's when Doug Armstrong met. And I think a lot of these decisions were made first week, second week of December. They had the kind of final meeting or that big meeting there on December 2nd and 3rd. And when we get into the snubs a little bit later on, I think it did play into some of how these guys performed this season. Okay. And then how, some of them have been over their body of work. He said today he was trying to find a great balance of resume build and guys that are playing good hockey right now. And you look at a guy like Macklin Celebrini, which everyone said he was almost a shoo-in to be here, but his resume build is only about 14, 15 months. So they really mentioned that as like, yeah, he doesn't have the resumes of the Crosbys and the McDavids and things like that. And one of the guys that didn't make this lineup, Connor Bedard, we'll get into him a little bit later, which, I have a little contention to pick there. But kind of how do you see these forwards lining up? I did my lineup, and again, we'll show that a little bit later on. Some of those guys didn't make this roster, but kind of how do you see the forward lines shaking out here? And you do see John Cooper's imprints on this. Cirelli and Hagel both make the team.
Yeah, the way that I frame up the forward lineup, so I think that probably starting with top six versus bottom six is probably an easy way to break it down to start. I think there's some obvious ones there. So, McDavid, I think most people are going to see him as the 1C on this team, followed by Crosby would be my 2C, I think. There are some really interesting things you could do on the wings there. And actually, one thing I noticed, I think it's actually in your lineup, Kirby, thinking about where you put McDavid, do you put him up with, thinking about where you put McKinnon, do you put him on the right side of McDavid or Crosby? You could think about doing an all Nova Scotia line with Marchand on the left side there.
The Maritime line I did, yeah.
Yeah, some interesting things that you can do. But yeah, 1C, 2C, McDavid, Crosby would be my top two. And then, wingers, where do you even start, right? You have Reinhart, Marner. Celebrini, I think, is probably going to get opportunity to play some absolute premier minutes on one of the top two lines. So there's a case too, when I think about the things that we might disagree maybe on Marner a little bit here, Kirby, but
you want to get into him a bit?
Well, I'm thinking the right side, if you want to make sure that you've got a good defensive presence in your top six, Reinhart, Marner, pretty similar in that way, right? Pretty good two-way game that you can put on either of those top two lines.
Sorry to interrupt. Point's going to be over there on the right side too.
Yeah, he's candid as well, I would think.
Because Suzuki's my 3C, so is Point over on the right. So you have Point, Reinhart, and Marner. Is that your three right wingers in the top nine?
I would think so. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and if you got Marchand over on the left, or if Marchand's on the right, that right side is stacked, Ryburn, and they leave Connor Bedard at home, which I thought he could be a right wing factor. What happens with Marner here? Okay, he could start at the top, but if he struggles, does he drop down to, say, a third line, and now he's on that defensive checking line with a Suzuki, a Mark Stone, put a Hagel there, however you want to build that, right? Where Celebrini starts to build his stock through the tournament. Brad Marchand, people, and I know you're very familiar with him, Ryburn, as a Leafs fan. He's on pace for a career year in goals. So it's not like he's just there for Crosby's buddy, or he's just there, to be the talking piece, right? He's playing some of the best hockey on this roster right now, and then Celebrini, the youngster, as well.
Well, we haven't even really touched on McKinnon yet, right? He could slot up absolutely anywhere, in my opinion, right? I think he will be in the top six somewhere, but do you put him on the right side? He could play in the middle.
Do you want McKinnon? Do you want McKinnon on McDavid's line, or do you want him on his own line with that Maritimer line with Crosby and Marchand? Then you got a real deep, I feel, top six, because you can have Reinhart or Marner, Point, other guys on that first line there that have played with McDavid.
100%, and there's no real good hockey reason for this, but part of me really just wants to see that Maritime line. I want to see that Nova Scotia. I want to see those three guys who know each other so well. I think all of them spend time together in the offseason. I'd love to see them line up on a line and see what that looks like.
And they're going to cause havoc, Ryburn, but within the confines of the game. We're going to get to, Sam Bennett later and all this, and how did they roster construct this? Those guys are going to cause havoc, but it's going to be created havoc within the game, and they're going to get in on the forecheck and be mean and nasty. And that just makes McDavid and that top line's job a lot easier if they have a line like that. That's your second line.
100%. There's one thing actually I would shout out here is when I look at this roster, and we're talking about the forwards right now, but I see this in the defensemen as well, is there's that each of the I'd say 90%, maybe not every single one of them, but 90% of these players have that like compete level that strikes that balance between like
say the word. I say it all the
overall.
time too as a Panther fan. Say the word. Starts with
Well,
letter D. We got that dog in them, you know?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Right. Like, and it feels like sort of the perfect amount. I mean, there's definitely a guy on here in Wilson that is going to have to really think about the plays that he makes, or he could find himself in trouble quickly. But
what do you feel about
just
him?
like
19 goals on the year. What do you feel? He was on my lineup 3 weeks ago when I built it.
he was on mine too. Yeah, like I think he's done enough last year and this year to deserve the shot here. I think he would have been the perfect fit. I was a little upset they didn't put him on Four Nations last year, but
who would you have had off? Do you remember who you would have had off?
Jarvis, I think.
Oh, okay, that'll be interesting. We'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah.
So we see a change here. We'll go into the names later again, but we see a change with the forwards here. There's a bit of a roster shakeup and change here. And this is what Canadian hockey fans wanted. They said, yes, we won with that Four Nations lineup, but I don't think it was perfect. And I don't think how John Cooper implemented that. And Cody, my co-host, Cody Stevens always mentions, he'll swear to me, you know, Mike Sullivan outcoached John Cooper. And hey, I can't really push back on that. I think there was things that he did in that round robin that didn't work out. They had a hard time finding guys working with McDavid. Reinhardt, Point, Marner were all shifted around. And Marner gets this reputation now that he had such a great tournament. I know you and I disagree on it a bit, and I know he's a Toronto Maple Leaf last year, but he was moving and shuffling all down the line. People said the same thing with Reinhardt. I thought he was doing some of the little things. Reinhardt did finish with 4 assists in the tournament. Short tournament, so 4 or 5 points kind of led the tournament, those guys there. But there was guys that weren't really clicking. I think they moved Point up and they figured out some things there. And of course, under John Cooper. But again, like I think Crosby drove that tournament. We disagree a little bit on Marchand. I thought he had some energy and burst. I think I'm in the minority there. A lot of people didn't really like how he played in Four Nations, but I didn't mind how he played and kind of that chemistry, synergy. He was bringing in that winning pedigree as well. He was handling all the interviews and all that. I think the team was really loose, even in such a tense situation in that Team USA game where they fall in the round robin there. But Canada's used to this, Ryburn. Fall to a game in the round robin. I don't know this year if it's going to be Czechia or Switzerland. Everyone will panic, but they've lost that round robin game and have gone on, you know, consecutive Olympics. Last year Four Nations to win the gold medal.
100%, yeah. So, and we're seeing it happen more and more and more. And if you want to use the World Juniors as a parallel, right? Like it's not just at that level, right? Like the programs are getting better in other nations across the board. So this is going to mean, you know, closer games at the junior level is going to lead to closer games at the Olympic best on best level.
Yeah, and I don't think Canada, we'll get into them maybe a little bit at the end too. And they're not an easy group here with Switzerland, Czechia. Czechia is coming through kind of a resurgence here. I would say it's more in their junior program than their senior program, but they are coming through that now, and they were struggling. So Canada's not an easy group. Team USA, I know Cody and Nick, they'll cover that and stuff like that. Germany, Latvia, they have one of the best international crowds, so that's always fun and lively when you get into that Latvia there game and situations there. We've seen that as a nation of Canada against Latvia. But yeah, there's not a lot of complaints to the guys. We're going to get into the guys that were snubbed in a bit. But Anthony Cirelli, is it just because of John Cooper?
Yeah, people are going to ask that question. And I mean, he's definitely a role player on this team. And he's also, I mean, out of the 14 forwards, he might be one that sees maybe minimal action compared to some other guys, right? Like it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But yeah, I mean, people are going to make that connection certainly with Cirelli. I mean, I think Hagel is a little bit more of an obvious one for me anyway. I think Hagel stands out a bit more than Cirelli does. But
yeah, like to stand out to be there, right? Hagel.
Totally, yeah. Like Hagel, just to me is a little bit more of a dynamic and versatile player. Cirelli is definitely going to have to take on a checking role on this team, PK. So we'll see how he does with that, right? And a lot of people do see him as sort of like an elite middle six player in the league. So I don't think it's outlandish at all that he's on here, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he falls when the 14 forwards kind of shake themselves into position here.
Yeah. Before we do move on from forward, I have one more player that we need to address here. And if you have any, Ryburn, bring up to me, anyone in the chat as well, getting our numbers up to double digits here. We will get to everyone's questions. There's not a lot there, so I'll filter through them as we go along here, and we might get some more as we go through here. But The surprise to me today, we talked about Antti Cirelli a little bit there, but obviously with the John Cooper connection, it didn't surprise me that he's on the roster. He wasn't on mine. But like I said to Cody and Nick on our Cats and Rats podcast, so I wasn't surprised. But the surprising name to me is Bo Horvat. And what Doug Armstrong said today is we're looking to build a complete team. Now, this will work if you win the gold medal. But if you don't, this is going to be a pick that's criticized. He's saying we need him there for PK, for the 200-foot game. And I think he called him today our best face-off guy. I don't know if you have the numbers in front of you there, Ryburn. And even Doug Armstrong went as far as saying, the GM of Team Canada, we're looking at 6-on-5 situations and 5-on-6 situations. So when we're up in a game or down in a game, goalies pulled, like that's how deep they're saying they're going into this. And a lot of that ties into Bo Horvat here.
Yeah, I don't think that's a huge surprise either. Like, there are a couple, I mean, if anyone's watching the ticker below there are a couple of other, I think, people you could talk about fulfilling that type of role with Team Canada. Face-offs are going to be important. I'm just pulling up the face-off numbers here.
Yes, pull it up. And just as you do that, I just put it up for the first time on this stream. This is like a Team Canada B roster. We are going to get into the snubs a little bit later, but just look at these collection of names here. But go ahead there, Ryburn.
No, I'll keep going. I'm just trying to find a...
Yeah, so like that was the big talk on Bo Horvat. Doug Armstrong said today he doesn't want to talk about the players that aren't here, so he's not answering questions from what I heard anyways before air on Sam Bennett, on Connor Bedard, and those type of guys. But he will speak on why like the likes of Bo Horvat are there. And Bo Horvat, he was getting a lot of attention closer to this deadline of announcing this roster. I think Tom Wilson got a little bit earlier on, and like you mentioned from last year with Four Nations, but I think Bo Horvat was the guy with the big up air. Obviously, Macklin Celebrini that made this team as well, but Bo Horvat had that big up air, and I'm just wondering and curious because I want to talk to you and I want to talk to others in our community, in our Canadian chat as well. Like, what's everyone's feelings and thoughts, on Bo Horvat here? And it's like you are leaving some great talent at home, some guys that bring the grit and bring the hammer, and you're going kind of in that middle range with him there. And I don't want to discount him. I think Bo Horvat played some of his best hockey in Vancouver in the bubble situation, but he's a guy that's going to be really critiqued and looked at here, depending on how the success of this team is, or if they don't meet expectations.
Yeah, I think what makes it like what's difficult for people to wrap their heads around the Bo Horvats. I would put Cirelli in this bucket too. Is like, how do you leave Connor Bedard at home while one of those guys is going? And I understand why people are asking that question, right? Because, if you're not,
just to jump in, I was fine with Connor Bedard, which we'll get to later. Fine as up in the press box to start the tournament. Hey, give Mitch Marner his spot. Sam Reiner, you get your spot. You're in the original six. Name Braden Point. You're a great player, and your head coach is John Cooper, coach of the team talent. But I think he supersedes his head coach there. So it's like Bedard, if he doesn't fit within that lineup, that's fine because you need other guys to play in those bottom six roles. Like Nick Suzuki that I really heralded that needed to be on this team as a 3C. So I'm just wondering, like, where's that fit with Horvat?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, thinking about the two-way game, obviously he's a fit there. But like I said, there's a bunch of other people that you could pencil in there to fulfill that type of role for Team Canada if you're looking at the whole league, right? So when I look at face-offs, like someone that comes to mind in that type of role, and I know we'll get to the snubs, but like John Tavares. Right, like here's a guy with Olympic experience, right? Like tons of Team Canada leadership, all those types of qualities that you'd look for. Maybe the knock on him now is he's a little bit slow, but I'd probably put Horvat in a similar category to him, right? Like Horvat's 9th in faceoffs right now, and Tavares is 10th. So, like I said, it's not a huge surprise, I don't think, but I understand why people are asking the question, and hopefully he can secure himself a spot on like that fourth line and grab hold of it and run with it.
That goes without saying. They're diehard. Again, Doug Armstrong, and I know the Canadian media, TSN Sportsnet, they said, and we already knew this going into this tournament, John Cooper has a lot of say and a lot of pull with this. If you have Paul Maurice coaching, if you have, and I think Pete DeBoer, we're going to get into the defense here in a second. I think he had some big say because he's running the defense with John Cooper. So it's Pete DeBoer and John Cooper in those meetings for the defense. I didn't catch the name on the forwards. Is it Bruce Cassidy? Is it Tokic? I'm not sure. But again, the coaches are going to have a lot of say within this roster. And John Cooper, winning last year, obviously the Stanley Cup resume and things like that. It's going to have a different makeout than what you guys would have with your rosters, and you're going to be upset if your favorite's not there or a player like that. I'm not in a situation like that this year. I have been in the past. Roberto Luongo sometimes being snubbed for, World Cups and different things like that. And I'm like, he's the best goalie in the league, or one of, with, Martin Brodeur. But because he plays in Florida and no one cares about Florida, he's not getting that recognition. Another guy, Jay Bomeister, back in the day, he got some snubs along the way as well. As fringe guy or something like that. So yeah, you always will remember back to those moments when those guys aren't there. And guys that are really entrenched in the Team Canada program, they spoke on Macklin Celebrini. And I know Nick, my co-host, laughs at me a little bit of this, but I'm like, the World Championships mattered last year. Doug Armstrong brought it up today, and he said he did really well with the likes of Crosby, and he fit in with these older guys, not just on the ice, but off the ice. And they liked his demeanor off the ice. So they're looking, this, Ryber, I believe in this, and you believe in it as well. We believe in like high character guys and character inside the game. The analytics community might not, but you and I do.
100%. And that's what I was talking about before, is what I see here. Like when you look up and down the forwards, defensemen, right? Like, is that motor, that compete level. And you talked about the D word, the dog, right? Like we got a lot of dogs on this team. So everyone has a reason to be excited to see this group on the ice. I'll say that.
Yep. No, exactly. Anything else on the forward front, Ryber?
No, the one other player I wanted to mention, and again, like I thought that he earned a spot, and to me, he's a dog. Mark Scheifele. Like,
thank you. He's go ahead with him if you'd like. Yeah.
Well, just like he's so competitive. He's got great size. He's having a great year. He had a great year last year. Like, to me, I would have had him on this team. I'm not necessarily going to get into who I would take off for him. Like we've talked about a couple guys that to both of us, I think are a little bit on the bubble, but yeah, like to me, Scheifele, if I was going to say, hey, I think, Doug Armstrong missed on one thing, it might be leaving Mark Scheifele off.
Yeah. And I'm going to get into him in our second segment here after we go through the defense and the goalies, but I think no one more than Mark Scheifele has got the short end of the stick. Sam Bennett got to be on Four Nations last year. He's not here right now in the initial roster, but I don't know what more Mark Scheifele has to do. He has turned around kind of his individual performance over the last year and a half, 2 years. That Jake Evans hit, I think that took him a long time psychologically to get past that. And then the Winnipeg Jets winning the President's Trophy last year. And, he gets to see a couple of his teammates, last year, be it this year, and Connor Hellebuck and Kyle Connor playing for Team USA. And Team USA is a very stacked roster, be there. And he's looking at this like, I can be 4C on this team. I'll buy into I'll play on the wing if you want me to. I'll be up in the press box if you want me to. I just think he's so versatile. Hey, you want me to PP2 unit, which they're not going to get much ice time. You want me to PK, whatever you want me to do, right? Like, you want me to be the cheerleader, whatever. Like, that dude loves hockey, and he's a character guy. And I don't get why he's not there. And that's one of the snubs today that really frustrated me. So we'll get into that a little bit later too, but I'm glad you mentioned him there. So let's go to our defense here now. So the interesting thing with the defense here, Ryburn, all 8 guys exactly the same as Four Nations, right?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, to me, not a huge surprise. I think if there's anything that I was sort of questioning leading up to them naming this roster this morning is I think Matthew Schaefer made a case. Like, very, very short runway, not much of a resume, but man, that kid looks good. And I don't think it's a bad thing to have youth on these teams, right? Like I would have been tempted to find a way to bring the kid. Because you never know, right? He was on your roster of 8 like mine. Yeah, like the final version, I would say, right? Like the one where you're looking at maybe over the last 2 weeks, right? Like, has he done enough? And to me, I was a little, maybe not surprised. Surprised probably isn't the right way to describe the feeling, but I thought that he had a shot for sure. So I mean, sky's the limit for that kid. He's got a bright and a long future ahead of him. But no, I think this D looks good, right? I think that the top 8 to 10, maybe you could take it to 10 in Canada are like fairly locked in. And then there's a bit of a gap, right? Like when you think about like an Ekblad or like a Morgan Riley, like, are they really that close to breaking into these top 8? Like
I have them below. If you can see on the bottom of the screen, I have them below Jacob Chikrin, Brandon Montour. Those guys are below Evan Bouchard to me, which obviously he has deficiencies in his game. Like, you can build a whole lineup of defensemen that aren't here. And I personally, two things, okay? I think this defense isn't getting enough love because what they have followed through the generation of great Canadian hockey with the likes of Chris Pronger, Scott Niedermayer, Drew Doughty in his prime, which he's here again. We can talk about that a little bit. Pietrangelo, Shea Weber. That's not quite what this defense is. Now, Cale Makar, generational. Let's not be mistaken. And I think he might not be getting enough love. And, he could kind of just fit in the back door. But everyone's talking about the goaltending. Everyone's talking about the stars of the team, the depth forwards. He's like, I'm just going to go out there and do my thing. And remember, he was sick last year during Four Nations. So that's where the emergence of Thomas Harley came here. But I wanted to see a change here. I'm a Brandon Montour guy. Everyone call me biased, whatever. But where's Jacob Chikrin? Where's Matthew Schaefer? I wanted to see an infusion of different guys. And again, if they do not succeed here, a lot of the attention is going to go to the Travis Sanheims and Colton Parayko's. Because, hey, guys, we brought you here to kill penalties strictly and play 12 to 14 minutes a night. And if you're a -2 or -3, or we're getting scored on the penalty kill, what are we doing here, Ryburn?
Yeah, that's what's going to make it interesting, I think. Like,
I'm sorry, sorry to interrupt. Cody was planning to do some of the Team USA stuff, so make sure to stay tuned to our channel there, Antonio. So reach out to Cody there. Go ahead there, Ryburn. Sorry about that.
No, I was just going to say, that's probably what makes this, when you look at these defensemen, and you mentioned, comparing it to, would you call it the last era, right? With guys like Shea Weber and,
I'll call it the golden era of Canada. I'll call it the golden era of Canada defense.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, the golden era, right?
I think we won the gold medal in 2014 because of the defense. Not Crosby, not Carey Price. Hey, you just kind of had to sit there and net. You didn't have to do too much. You were in your rock there, right? That's why I love that 2014 team, because what I say about defense wins championships.
100%. And you could again draw parallels here to what we're watching right now with the World Junior. You have all these dynamic, ultra skilled puck moving defensemen. All of them look great, but when you think about how well do they play defense compared to how well Shea Weber played defense, is there anyone sniffing that right now? I don't know if there is.
And
I mean, Parayko was pretty good at defending,
I don't want to get into the. Oh, sorry to interrupt, Rob. I don't want to get into the full junior program either. But if Canada does fall short here in the World Juniors, you're going to say it's a little bit on the defense and not handling that forecheck and making crucial turnovers at crucial times. And then you look at this Canada roster, if that ends up being the problem with these bottom pairing depth guys, even a guy in Drew Doughty, which I think he's there on pedigree alone, not on his current level of play. If Doughty doesn't play well, if Parayko doesn't play, if Sanheim doesn't play well, you can't just, we'll get into the goalies here in a minute, but you can't just expect the goalies just to bail you out here.
No, definitely not. Yeah. And like I said, the parallels that I'm drawing is it seems like the way that players are developing, there's maybe a little bit less, I don't want to say less focus on defending, but maybe a little more focus on the two-way sort of offensive minded. I mean, skating is so important. Moving the puck is so important. If you can't do those things, you're not going to play in the NHL period. But I think it just leads to maybe a bit of a higher frequency of some of those fire drills in your own end, right? Where, you can make some really, really pretty passes, but if you're not executing them well 100% of the time, they can really bite you. So we'll see how this group does on that.
I do want to get to Antonio's question here. We will get to that in just a minute as we talk about the goaltending, because that might answer Antonio's question here. And hey, I don't want to dog the defense. I'm just always looking at it. Hey, what are the keys to success? Hey, what are the keys to if this team doesn't perform, right? And I know, and I appreciate all you guys. We've got a lot of American audience here. And going into Four Nations, I said, this is not a perfect lineup. There's question marks on defense for Canada. There's obviously question marks in goal. I think Canada has addressed that here, as you see on the screen, a little bit better this year than they did last year in Four Nations. It didn't catch them in that tournament because, as I said, Ryber, it's a short tournament. You probably only need one goalie. In this tournament, you're going to see two goalies. If you start to see the third goalie, well, you're in trouble, I think. Injury, lack of performance, those type of things. So I don't want to dog this defense. They played really well, exceptionally well at Four Nations. I thought Doughty, there's a couple guys that struggled. They had to get over the Makar illness thing, and Harley stepped up into the lineup. But can Parayko, can Sanheim replicate what they did last year? And where does Drew Doughty fall here? Like, are they going to force him into the lineup? Is Cooper going to force him out there to his detriment? Or if he's not playing well, is he just going to be the extra guy and the cheerleader and the guy kind of leading the way? That's what I'm kind of wondering with the defense. Because I think at the top four, you're fine. Makar, Taves, they play together. They're great. Like, we don't even address them enough because we're not worried about them. We're like, they'll be able to handle it. And then you got maybe like a Theodore, which I'm very high on, and a Morrissey. I look at him sometimes. I'm like, he could be one of the real difference makers out there. But then you look at how he is in the playoffs when, against Colorado there a couple of years ago. Didn't like his play at all. Bit soft, not engaged, not making good reads in his own zone. Not to the level of Evan Bouchard, but I do worry a little bit there. So again, the defense is the part that I look at. I think the goaltending gets over magnified. It's how the team plays in front of the goaltender. We saw that with Jordan Binnington last year in the Four Nations tournament. And then obviously the forwards up and down the lineup. You have enough guys you can move in and out of there. But that's my concern on the defense if things don't go well, Ryber. I don't know if you're a little higher on this unit, but again, they left a lot of guys at home that I really like and that are dogs, that are winners, and that are good skaters and can eat up a lot of minutes.
Yeah, like sort of the point that you brought up there. I mean, we're aligned certainly on the top four, and then the bottom pairing out of like the Sanheim, Parekos, Thomas Harley, Drew Doughty. Harley to me hasn't looked fantastic this year, right? Like it seems like he's fallen off a little bit to start this year, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not he can pick it up. And then, I mean, Drew Doughty, I think you're right. He's probably there more based on pedigree than sort of the actual level that he's playing at right now. I do think,
and off of a lot of injury last year, injury this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I still think he's a guy where like he's gonna have to play himself off. Like I think they will put him out there right away to start. But like the plan B, like if you had brought more of like a wild card like Schaefer or Chikrin, I think would be probably my ninth guy, right? Like to me, like that gives you a little bit more to work with, right? Like, or a little bit. It's some people might look at it.
It gives you a different look and a feel, but they're trying to say that with Parayko and Sanheim, they give the team a different look and feel what they do defensively.
Yeah.
But then you're not trusting your defense, Ryburn. Like what Makar and Schaefer can't play any defense. Like
we might be splitting hairs, really. Like with this, like I said, like I think like 9-10 out of these 8, right? If you're going from 1 to 8, like let's say that these guys on the screen here, the top 8, I think 9-10, Chikrin is probably number 9. To me, Schaefer's 10. Some people might put Noah Dobson at 10.
Yes, that's another one. I have Montour there, but I think Montour's in with that Dobson range. Mackenzie Weegar.
Yeah, Weegar. Like I think there's, like I said, there's a bunch of other people that you could have put in here to give yourself a different look. But are we splitting hairs? Like we might be splitting hairs.
That's true. If it works out well, right? No one's going to talk about it. But this is the fun. We're analyzing it. They said, they're glad that this date's over because of all the speculation and different things like that. And I want to mention to our audience here too, Ryburn, doesn't mean this is the final roster. There's still NHL games to be played, injuries, and they called every Canadian player, and I'm assuming Sam Bennett is one of them for you Panther fans. Do you still want to be part of this? Because if you do, you have to follow the IOC drug policy. You got to be on top of your nutrition and all that stuff. So even though you're not on the team, you still have to act like you are on the team. So all the guys came back to Armstrong today and said yes. So
that doesn't surprise me at all. I'm happy to hear that.
Right. So everyone buying in, no one's kind of hurt feelings on this, which can be very hard, and it's very hard to take. Like this is not just the World Championships, the World Cup, a new tournament, 4 nations that no one knew what that was going to be. I thought it would be highly competitive, I'm just saying, but no one knew what it was truly going to be. But this is Olympics, and this is some of these kids' dreams. Our moderator, Canadian Ryan, said growing up, he played on the street playing for the Olympic gold medal, not for Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. I always played for Game 7 of the Stanley Cup, but he grew up, in that 2010s era, really the golden era, the Crosby era, and like dreaming of winning Olympic gold medal. So a lot of these guys in that same boat, right?
100%. I can totally see where Ryan's coming from there. I'm more like the 2002 era, right? Like that's when I was a kid playing street hockey. But yeah, like you're right. This is a lot of these kids' dreams. And I do think that we're going to see some more names on this screen eventually, right? Like,
Antonio said this is not the final roster. Yeah, this is the initial roster announcement. But if there's injuries, there's guys in reserve there, right? And so if Tom Wilson gets hurt, they're probably calling Sam Bennett. If Brandon Hagel gets hurt, they're probably calling Sam Bennett. if something happens, and I hate to bring up injuries all the time, but I'm just bringing up as an example here. If one of the big dogs of Canada, McKinnon, Reinhart, Points get hurt, Connor Bedard, how's your health? What's your timeline looking like?
Well, right? Just look, not to pick on anyone, but just like look through the roster here, right? Like you got Mark Stone, right? Like he's got a history of injuries. Tom Wilson plays a super high risk style of game. He could wind up injured. I mean, Brad Marchand and Sidney Crosby are both 37 years old or something like that.
And we're running Brad Marchand into the ground right now in Florida.
Yeah, I mean Drew Doughty, right? Like
please just get there, right?
Yeah, there is risk here. Like there is a high probability that we will see someone else on the screen.
Yeah, I'd say like 1 or 2 injuries. I'm not going to predict it or guarantee it, but there's high probability there's 1 or 2 guys that on this lineup right now on New Year's Eve here, you guys joining us and watching it here on the replay on New Year's Day, might unfortunately not make it, right, with that injury. Remember Paul Kariya when Gary Suter took him out in front of the net and concussed him? No Olympics, Paul Kariya. And people still bring that up. That was a dirty-ass play. So, that's unfortunate those things happen, right, just before Olympics and roster announcements and those type of things. So, anything else on the defense there, Ryburn?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered it. It'll be like cheering for these guys. It'll be interesting to see who they sort of lock in the top 6 out of these 8 guys or 8+ guys, we could say. We'll see what happens.
Antonio, he's like the Hawks. He's a Blackhawks fan. Ryburn, he's always in here. We appreciate him. He's one of our members here. Don't get Ryburn started on this. He'll start mentioning Sam Bennett and other guys. Get out here,
Antonio, I agree with you. Like Tom Wilson could be doing hard time in Kingston Penitentiary by the time this starts with the way he plays.
Didn't McCarr play in the gold medal? He was sick before the gold medal, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, he played the gold medal, didn't he?
Yeah. Quinn Hughes, I don't think did, and then Brock was it Faber that? No, Charlie McAvoy had the infection.
Yeah, and he got hurt too right away.
Got hurt too. Yeah, we're not the biggest Charlie fans. we don't want anyone to get hurt. We don't want to wish on any injuries, but we want to talk to you guys about those things because it's realistic scenarios that could play out here. Now to the goaltending. We'll get to my lineup after the break. We'll go through this a little bit. We can come back after the break and talk about the goaltending a little bit further, but let's touch on it here for at least 5-10 minutes. You do see a roster overhaul a bit here. 2/3 of the goalies do not return. Aiden Hill of the Vegas Golden Knights did not make the roster. Samuel Montembeault of the Montreal Canadiens sent down to Laval, sent down to the minors. First game back up in a month against the Florida Panthers last night. Grabs the victory there in overtime. His game was getting wholly made over resurface. He's having trouble with those low danger shots, those 50, 60-foot shots. He went down to Laval and had to work on like catching the puck, tracking the puck. He's nowhere near close to making this team right now in the way that where his game is at. So we see Jordan Binnington returning here, reigning, defending 4 Nations, MVP there. You've got Darcy Kemper and Logan Thompson. I think we could talk about that a little bit, Ryburn, who's going to be the backup. Obviously, they're going to probably anoint one because you're going to have games within the Olympics because you're playing a little bit more. You're going to have your backup get a start or 2 at the very least, even if your starting goalie's playing well, just to give them that little reprieve, that little bit of rest. So I think they go, like you mentioned with Drew Doughty, I think there's no question about it. I know Jordan Binnington is 60th in the NHL right now. I think goal saved expected. They don't care. Like I think he's starting. Like as long as he can wheel out on the ice and he's healthy, he's starting for Canada and the starting goaltender. Now, if things happen from there, I think there's more insurance this year. There's better options behind them than what I felt last year. What's your feelings there, Ryburn?
I would say that there's better options behind him, but like we really don't have, like Canada does not have a ton of sort of rock solid choices here. And that's no disrespect to any of these guys. They're all good goalies, but like I always chuckle a little bit to myself when I look at our goalies and then compare them to like Team USA's choices for goaltenders to put in net. And it's just holy smoke.
Russia, USA, even Sweden, like kind of like good.
To me, Binnington is the guy until he plays himself out of that role. Just with 4 Nations last year, he's won a Stanley Cup. Like he's got the resume for sure. Kemper though, Stanley Cup winner too, right? Like Kemper's getting older, but I think he'd be a solid backup.
I had Skinner last year. Here's my goalies last year. I think it was Binnington, Aiden Hill, and Skinner as the third. I don't even know if I had Montembeault. So
like what do we have
coming off the Stanley Cup Finals appearances and stuff, So you got to remember that.
You know,
Right?
that's true. I'm sure if like Stuart Skinner's ever listening to some of this stuff, and he's probably thinking to himself, like, well, why am I not in this conversation right now?
Why am I
In the cup
taking
final for 2 straight years. Like, what? Come on, give me
right?
some
Yeah.
love.
But he's one of those guys that's an easy target, even for fellow Edmonton Oilers fans, you know. And I think even us as Canadians, Ryburn, we're like, I don't know about this goaltending going into Four Nations. Like people questioning us and putting USA as the favorites. It was kind of like you kind of buying into it as well because like I said, it was the overhaul of the defense, the new era, like you know the Cale Makar era coming through, losing a lot of the guys from the past era from 8 years ago, and then you're seeing the look of these goalies like on paper versus what USA has and other teams have. I was even saying UC Saros, like if he's the best player at Four Nations, they could win that tournament because he just stands on his head for a week, right? I'm like, I don't know if Canada has that capability. And to credit to Canada, Binnington didn't have to stand on his head, but he was there when he had to make the big saves.
Yeah, maybe I was gonna say I would say he stood on his head in that overtime.
Okay, the overtime, but
against
like
USA.
not throughout the tournament or for whole games, right? But okay,
Yeah.
yes, that's fair. Yeah. Well, there's a couple guys there had a chance to win. You're very familiar with one. About 4 chances to win. We could address that at the end if we want to get into any of like the other tournament stuff. But yeah, I just think it's more promising on twofold because you get to see a couple different goalies here that have played well. Logan Thompson last year in the playoffs, you know, kind of was in that Vezina running there. Darcy Kemper has won a Stanley Cup with Colorado. What he's done in LA, I think, has been good enough. A lot of people were trying to push Kemper out for Blackwood, Wedgwood, a couple of my co-hosts. I was like, no, I think this is Darcy Kemper's net here, even if he's, you know, a third string in this scenario here. And then the way that Jordan Binnington played and how the team played last year. So I think the goalies on paper look a little bit better this year. And you can kind of have that sense of relief and like, hey, we did it last year and we can do it again.
The thing with the Olympics too, Kirby, is like, and I think me and you and Cody have talked a little bit about this last year before Four Nations. Like, if we were talking about like a 7-game series against, you know, one of these nations with you know, Jake Ottinger or
Jeremy Swayman even, right?
Yeah, like one of like if you're talking about going 7 games and a team's got a goaltender like that in net, I feel a whole lot less confident. But like,
no, but let me jump in. But then Connor Hellebuck in a best of 7 hasn't been so great. Just saying.
That's true. Yeah, there's a flip side to that coin too, I guess.
Yeah, I just
had that. Any of these 3 can steal a game for sure. So as long like if they're playing the way that we know that they can play. Right,
and Connor McDavid's on the ice with McKinnon and Crosby. They're like, on the ice.
I'm comfortable with any of these 3 in net. Like,
yeah, no, yeah, I'm with you there. And like I said, I think Jordan Binnington kind of gets that start there. Anything else on the goals? We can come back after the break here as well, Ryburn, and talk about.
No, the goalies. I think we're good. That's again, we'll see what Binnington does. See what he can do.
Sounds good. And we'll be back after the break. We're going to break down what my lineup was 2-3 weeks ago. Talk about a little bit more of the roster snubs in depth here. I think we need to talk about Sam Bennett. I think we need to get into Connor Bedard and different things like that and kind of how we see that playing out. But before we do all that, here's a word from our sponsor, Caneswear.
Panthers fever is here. Are you geared up? Caneswear in Davie is the place for all your Florida Panthers needs. They have the latest gear for our favorite NHL team. Jerseys, polos, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Caneswear has you covered. Stop by their store in Davie or at pantherswear.com. Again, that's pantherswear, WEAR.com for all your Panthers gear.
And another word from our great sponsor, Jeremy Beckham. Already trash talking me a little bit, Ryburn, on Team USA and Team Canada. But we appreciate you, Jeremy. Hey, Panther fans in South Florida and need real estate help? Check out Jeremy Beckham with Next Home Treasure Coast. It's a boutique service with a personal touch. Jeremy and his team put humans over houses, working hard for you, whether you're buying or selling. Ready to move? Hit up BeckSellsFLA.com or call 772. Again, that's 772-475-5371. Now you'll be glad you did. And just another housekeeping item here. Appreciate everyone subscribing to our channel. We're going to get so many new fans here with our Olympic coverage. We already talked about our roster discussion there a couple weeks ago on Team Canada. And then Cody and Caesar and Nick, they held down the Team USA one. So if you want to go check out those, make sure, again, you're subscribed to our channel here. Like the videos. That helps with our algorithms. comment on the videos as well. You can purchase a super chat donation anytime we're live, like such as we are now. We appreciate all those donations and all the ones that came in last night on the post-game show. You can buy your own membership. There's gold, silver, and bronze. Hey, a little bit of theme heading into the Olympics. That's how I wanted to do it going into this season, this Olympic season. So you can get, again, a gold, silver, or bronze membership. You can upgrade your membership. You'll want to upgrade your membership for our Matthew Tkachuk contest going on. We are going to announce that winner shortly when Matthew Tkachuk returns to the Panthers lineup. Matthew Tkachuk signed photo. We'll explain that a little bit more later on, and you have to be a gold or silver member for that. You can gift a membership to the community members and access to many other great perks. So let's transition a bit here, Ryburn. Let me pull this up. If we can get it up here. So this was the lineup that I kind of projected on the Cats and Rats episode, I want to say episode 65, a couple episodes ago. Myself, Cody, and Nick, we did the Team Canada lineups and the USA lineups. They're not here today, but I want to show, as we're doing the Canadian coverage, I wanted to show my lineup here. And I actually did it with lines built. And I don't know if I've seen any out there today, Ryburn. I haven't been on X a ton today, but I'm curious like how people are starting to construct the lineup. And again, I can kind of get into this a little bit. I really like kind of that first line ability there where Celebrini can play up the lineup. Marner there as well. Like you talk about, do you want to play McKinnon with McDavid or not? You've got that Maritime line on that second line. That third line, I really think I'm hitting it out of the park there because I'm like, Suzuki needs to be on this team. He better damn well be on this team. And then you got the Hagel Point there. If Point's not higher up the lineup, you know, John Cooper's going to use him in a checking role situation. Further down the lineup and on the wing spot there. Now, the fourth line, I see Reinhart can bump up throughout the tournament. But, like, if you look at that right side there, like, who plays on the fourth line, right? Like, if Marner starts to struggle and drop down, then he could drop down and Reinhart can bump up. But someone's got to play down there. Like, I think this team is really deep, not just down the middle like we always talk about Team Canada, but on the right side there, right? And I know Brad Marchand, I think he's had some time and experience over there, but you need enough guys over there on the left side. And I think that's what opens it up for Celebrini as well, because you got so much veteran-laden guys, superstar-level guys over there on the right side. That kind of opens it up for Celebrini there on the left. And the way that Brad Marchand's played as well, I think that those two guys have established themselves.
Wilson plays on the right side too.
What's that?
Tom Wilson plays on the right side too.
Even him too. So he's multi-purpose, right?
And
right this is where I thought Mark Scheifele fit in, right? Like 100%. I don't know what guy you have there. I guess they're going to have Bo Horvat maybe there. But if Bo Horvat struggles in this tournament, now you don't have Mark Scheifele there. My extras, Bedard and Jarvis, I might have given a little disrespect there to Mark Stone. He's been injured a lot, different things like that. But I know how much I think the national program values him maybe a bit more than me. But you got Mark Stone over there, right, too, on the right side, right? So it's like one of these guys, they got to be over there on the left, and one of these guys is going to be out of the lineup. So you're talking like, you know, Horvat replacing Scheifele from my lineup there, or, you know, Tom Wilson out of the lineup. And again, where does Anthony Cirelli fit looking at that?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, to me, like, I think you nailed it on the sort of the top three lines here, and then that fourth line, like you say, you can swap in guys in and out. The right side is perfect though, and what I mean by perfect is like any of those four guys can play on any of those lines. Like they're all two-way, like they all have strong two-way games, right? They can play on a scoring line with McDavid, or they can play on a checking line with Suzuki. So
now you know Mitch Marner better than me, being a Leafs fan through the years. Would he buy into if he dropped all the way down to the fourth line?
I think so. I mean, like he's gotten like Selke votes before. He's got a good two-way game, right? Like he's not.
I'm talking more the mindset, not maybe the ability.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay. I wouldn't be worried about the mindset there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just love the center depth here. I don't think a lot of that changes. Obviously, Horvat probably in for Scheifele. There's a natural center. That's where Sam Bennett would have been. Again, I think if you had a line of Wilson, Bennett, Reinhart.
That wouldn't be fun.
No, you're going to be worried. You'll be messaging me like, Kirby, I don't know. There could be some suspensions playing out here. I don't know, guys. And I know like getting heated up, but like it would be fun, right? And it adds a different element and dimension than like, again, I don't want to put down Horvat or Anthony Cirelli. Like you got to be really great to make Team Canada, and credit to these guys. making this lineup, whether you think it's nepotism, favoritism, different things like that, playing with John Cooper, playing with the management team. Hey, the management team is what the management team is. You look at Colton Parayko with the Blues as well. Not in my lineup here as we get to the defense, but again, you've got to be a really damn good hockey player to make this lineup. So there's going to be snubs and different things like that. I thought Bedard being in the press box, if you got an injury, or you're not getting that scoring that you really think you're getting, you're like, man, we're just missing that little bit of something, that little element, that little game breaker. And you could put Bedard in that lineup with a Matthew Schaefer and Celebrini. They could finish the tournament out, those three guys, but you don't get to see right now from the initial roster announcement, Connor Bedard, unfortunately, and Matthew Schaefer there. Jarvis, I thought he was having a great year, like a Tom Wilson, and I thought they were only going to take one of Tom Wilson or Bennett. So you don't see Bennett in my lineup, but I was really high on Scheifele. And I said, if they're not going to take Wilson, then they're probably going to take Bennett.
Yeah, and I was really, really high on Scheifele too, like we talked about before the break. I think Jarvis, to me, again, talk about a guy that plays a similar role to Cirelli, right?
He has a career of playoff games performance. I know Panthers, we are ownership of the Carolina Hurricanes, everyone, but this guy has played as much playoff hockey games as Anton Lundell has. It's remarkable,
Yeah.
Big games.
And then is Scheifele, I'm starting to second guess some things here now that we talk about this more. Is Scheifele bad at face-offs or something? How?
You might have to draw it up. I think he's had some bad years. I don't think he's one of the better guys. I don't know if he's as low as Sam Bennett. See, this is a detractor Sam Bennett. I don't know how deep they're looking into Sam Bennett, but they're like, I don't know about his face-off numbers, and I don't know about his penalty kills. Sam Bennett's starting to kill penalties this year now, but he hadn't been doing it previously. So where were they looking at these guys? Because they're talking up, if you want to pull it up there, Ryber, if you got a minute, they're really pumping the tires on Bo Horvat's face-off numbers. And I think this is why I talk about face-offs all the time, because I hear it so often within, Team Canada confines and different things like that. I think Canada values the face-off dot in the circle more than any other nation. I don't even think it's close. I think a guy like Alexander Barkov does. But I think as a nation, Canada up, down, it doesn't matter if you're a superstar or you're a guy that's playing down there in the bottom six. It's you better damn well win your faceoffs, right? Because we're not going to accept anything less. So again, they really talked up Bo Horvat in the dot. I think Bo Horvat is the best guy on the roster here in the faceoff circle this season.
Sidney Crosby, I think.
Is Crosby ahead of Horvat?
According to what I'm sharing here, Larkin's number 1, Crosby's number 2.
Okay. So where's Scheifele on that in regards to where Horvat sits?
Horvat's 9th, and then Scheifele is down at, I think, 32nd.
Okay.
Yeah, 32nd.
Maybe they look at that. But again, I like Mark Scheifele's size. I like his compete, and you could play him on the wing. A lot of these 100%. Guys are natural centers as is that are playing on the wing anyways, right?
Exactly. Suzuki, we got 19th here.
Yep.
There's a name no one's really talking
about. Where's McDavid? Much. Not that it matters.
That's a good question. He must be down here a little ways.
They're like, we don't need to look at that.
maybe. Okay, I don't see him anywhere in the first 50, so let's just we'll forget that.
Forget that. That sounds like my co-hosts or my speakers when we want to lay down the facts. Okay, so McDavid not up there, but yeah, that's been a detractor of Bennett, and then the penalty kill before. And I think what hurt Bennett as well, they really were finalizing this roster at the beginning of December. Bennett just started getting going here. Fans are like, well, look at the points. He's having a career pace. And I've seen a lot of fans out there today. His career pace is only 50 points, everyone, right around the 52 points. So sure, he's on career pace, but look at what Brad Marchand's blowing his career totals out of the water at age 37. So again, I didn't buy the Canadian rhetoric today that guys didn't play themselves off the team. They just have so many guys. Of I don't know. I think they're looking at a couple of these guys, and you can't say coming into the year that Connor Bedard was on this list. They're like, the way that he's played. So they're not calling out certain names that aren't there. And I don't know. They're saying the Bedard injury didn't play into factor here, but the big names today, and it's going all around the news cycle, is Sam Bennett and Connor Bedard here. Right?
So can I just talk about Sam Bennett for a second? I know that we got a ton of Florida Panthers fans that watch and listen. Here's my take on why he's not on this team. I think it has less to do with how he is played and more to do with this is not a tournament where we are playing NHL rules. I think Sam Bennett was perfect. And I think Tom Wilson actually would have been perfect for Four Nations as well. I'm glad to see Tom Wilson on this roster because I think he's earned it based on his play and his production, his ability to check, his speed. Like there's a lot of reasons that Tom Wilson belongs on this roster. But when we're comparing the differences between how the NHL officiates sort of the Stanley Cup playoffs and Four Nations, right? Like those high stakes games, the whistles go away. It's not the same in the Olympics. It is not the same game. Sam Bennett's skill set is less useful to the Team Canada Olympic team because there's going to be consequences for the style of play that he plays if he's not very, 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 very careful. And when I look at who's done a better job over the last 2 years, if we're going to say we're going to take one of Tom Wilson or Sam Bennett, to me, it's Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it has more to do with just like this is kind of this is a different game than Four Nations, right? Like it's not a carbon copy of Four Nations. This is going to be different.
Yeah, and Cody has spoken on that's very well said, Ryber. Now I got a couple follow-up questions there for you on the Sam Bennett front. Well, one's more of a comment and one's more of a question. I guess I'll start with the comment, my commentary on it. I don't think Team Canada management is going to come out and say that, what you just said.
No, of course not. No.
They're not going to say, oh, we really looked at Sam Bennett closely here, but, international rules and how it's officiated versus NHL-sanctioned events and something like in the Four Nations, that really played into our decision. They're not going to come out and say that.
No, but I would bet.
But my question is, how big a piece of a pie was that?
For me, that's most of the pie when you're talking about Sam Bennett. Like, I think that is the difference. I think that if this is a game that's a tournament that's officiated with NHL rules, he's on this roster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you
said, that's the whole pie.
If it was North American side NHL rules, he's there.
He's there.
He's there over.
And I would.
He's there over Horvat.
Oh yeah, over
I don't know if he's there over
sure.
Cirelli. I don't know if he's there over Cirelli because it's got John Cooper angle again.
Yeah, but like he's right there with Cirelli, in my opinion. Like he's there over Bo Horvat for sure. To me, anyway. If you're talking about NHL rules, I mean, he's got a great resume too, right? Like I don't think anyone should try to take anything away from Sam Bennett. Like I said, I don't think it has much to do with his play. It's just more to do with the circumstances. And I mean, if the whistles are going to go away, he's someone I would want on my team. Same with Tom Wilson. When you're looking across at Brady and Matthew on Team USA, yeah, I want some guys that can mix it up, right? So, but you're not going to see the gloves come off at the drop of the puck in the first period of the Olympics. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, like fans that hadn't seen best on best competition, and we have a lot of newer fans in our community that are finding hockey for the first time. They haven't seen best on best, and they're like, "What's this Four Nations going to be? Like a glorified exhibition?" No, it's the exact opposite of that. Dropping gloves, and then people were like, "Wow, this is intense. This is crazy. This is so much." Now they've got to like reprogram their minds to something that they might not be familiar with best on best Olympics that they have never seen, in 8+ years. And even ones that maybe have seen the last Olympics of 2014, they vaguely remember it. It's not going to be like that, right?
No, it's different
it's
rules.
It's going to be a mind warp for people on social media, Ryburn, like just how they're reacting to stuff, right? And like people arguing back and forth, like this is not how it's going to go. Well, this is what happened with Four Nations. Oh, you're a casual. You don't know how hockey is. It's like, no, well, maybe something will happen. Or, what's like Canada, USA, they don't like each other. There's got to be some stuff that boils over. So it's going to be interesting. But like Cody, my co-host, has said this all along, it's not going to be anywhere near that where, these are pre-designed fights off the face-off that guys are talking about in the group chats, Yeah. So you know what I mean? And overseas, it's a different feel too. Like everyone's like, "Oh, it's just a guarantee, 100% guarantee that Canada, US are in the gold medal game." No, it's not. When you're over there in Europe, things crazy are happening. Look, they don't have the rink. The rink is like in peril right now. I know Team Canada executives came out today and said they're going to go check it after the World Junior ends, and they feel confident that it should be ready to go. But there's so much different things in play here, Ryburn, that it's not going to be that same feel.
No, it's going to be different. I don't want to undersell it to anyone. Like the games are still going to be intense and like they're a blast to watch. For anyone who's not seen Olympic best on best hockey, like there's no less passion. It's a bit of a different sport, right? Like it's not an NHL event, and that's where like I don't even know. I'm sure we could look this up, Kirby, but like there's severe consequences for like fighting or checking to the head, right? Like I mean, Sam Bennett and Tom Wilson is at risk of doing this too, right? Like they mess up their timing on one of these hits or they take too many strides.
Yeah.
connect in the wrong way, and that could be game over for
Brad Marchand yesterday against Mike Matheson. That's probably called differently.
That's borderline, right? Like they call those types of plays in IHF events, whatever, right? Like European events, they call them differently, and there's no tolerance for it, right? So you could really put your team in trouble, put them at a disadvantage if you make a mistake there. So
and some of our fans and people in our community might not know this, Ryburn, but it's not all NHL refs. These are international refs. They're Finland and Czechia and Switzerland. Like people are like, who are these guys?
These are people that, like, if I had one in the kitchen here with me right now and I sat them down and showed them a Sam Bennett or like a Tom Wilson highlight reel of their hits, they would be appalled. Like, if they haven't seen
because of the world they're from and how they officiate and the leagues that they're part of, right?
Yeah, right. Like it's different style of hockey. So to me, like that's what it comes down to. And Bennett will be one of the bigger snubs if he's still off the roster when the Olympics come around. It's not too late. He could still be there depending on how the rest of the time between then and now shakes out. But
this was the question, Ryburn, here from our guy Antonio. You can't cut anyone when it's announced from their performance.
No,
right? Like,
no, I don't think so. No,
I don't. I've never seen that before. That would be totally unprecedented. It would create a lot of bad faith and bad blood. Like if Canada did that to one of the guys, to add Bedard, like I think that's causing more ramifications than leaving him off. Actually,
Totally. And I don't think Bedard was left off due to health reasons anyway. Like,
yeah, I think they made their decision on his timeline and his time back, and they said today. I think you got to go by their word that it didn't play into that. If there's anything else to add there on the forwards, we can jump back up there at the end. But Taves, Makar, Morrissey, Theodore, I hit that out of the park. Some people didn't have Theodore on their lineups that I saw out there. I don't know. I'm not saying many, but I saw some. I'm like, where's Shea Theodore in your guys' lineup? So that might be like my omission of Mark Stone. I was like, Shea Theodore's got to be there. Doughty, not that I necessarily like needed him to be on my lineup, but I thought he was going to be there on principle alone and pedigree. And then I had Schaefer there. Like Schaefer as a 6 or a 7. Like I would be fine with him starting the tournament or up there in the press box, like chomping at the bit. You could have Harley up in the lineup and then Schaefer down as the extra. And my feelings on Brandon Montour, you could have Jacob Chikrin there. You could have Mackenzie Weegar there. But I think it's splitting hairs. Brandon Montour had 18 goals last year. He's dealt with some personal tragedy this year, losing his brother. He also got in a fight, I think, with Brent Burns and messed up his hand. So he's dealing with a little bit of an injury now before I announced this, made this lineup 2-3 weeks ago. So he's got some injury timeline stuff there. And he might be on the outside looking in. But that's not a discredit to him. I think the Canada guys on the bubble for defense, like that's why you don't see Parayko and Sanheim here. I'm like, I think on paper, personally, this is a better defense than what Canada's put out there. That's me, right? Like, we're just going to have these guys that are out there killing penalties and playing 12, 14 minutes a night. Harley can play 18 minutes. Montour can play whatever you need him to play. Schaefer, like, he's a young dog. He's good to go. And if Doughty struggles, I think you have to have guys, like, chomping at the bit here to get up in the lineup. And not having a guy like Jacob Chikrin there, I think it makes it a little bit more comfy and comfortable for Doughty. And it's like, do they stick with him for a little bit too long if he's not going well?
100%, like different looks. Certainly, like I like your defense here. Like I'm on board with having Schaefer in the lineup. And I'll use this argument for Bedard too. Like my hesitation with leaving those guys off. Like I get the lack of experience, but we're talking about a tournament, right? Like we're talking about, like, let's say something's not going well on the back end. Maybe one guy's, let's say Morrissey's having a tough go for whatever reason, or he gets hurt or whatever, and you inject Schaefer into the lineup. Let's say he has the game of his life, right? Like he there's that spark because of his youth and because, he's the big thing in hockey right now. And it's the same thing with like Bedard. And I mean, this could happen with Celebrini too, right? Like you never know how those guys could look. And that spark could be what takes this team like over the finish line, right? Like if your backup guy is a number one, young 18, I think Schaefer's still 18. I don't think he's turned 19 yet. Future franchise guy that everyone is so high on, and he comes into the lineup and just has the game of his life. Like that spark, that could take them through the tournament.
And people were questioning Canada a couple of years ago, like, oh, USA's catch up, all these other nations catch up. Look what Mac and Celebrini and Connor Bedard are doing this year. That's the next way. They're like, who's after McDavid? He's already 10 years in. Well, the next week just hit everyone in the face, and with a Schaefer as well.
Exactly. And like, you're not worried either about lack of experience. I mean, you have Nathan McKinnon and Sidney Crosby and Brad Marchand. Like, you have don't be worried about
Sam Reinhart now.
Drew Doughty, Sam Reinhart, right? Like, you have a ton of like
Mitch Marner, I'll even say in more tournament action outside of like May and June hockey, like guys like that, a lot of experience
and leadership. Like Sidney Crosby is like an all-time captain, like in the history of this game.
And right? He wants to mentor those guys. He probably told them Macklin Celebrity damn well better be there probably back in November, right? I played with him in the World Championship, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we need that. Like like Crosby, if he said they're like, oh, okay, we'll listen because Crosby's telling us. You guys should know that anyways, right?
Is it just real quick? Is it a given that Sidney Crosby's the captain of this team? To me, it is.
I have said that from all along.
He's got the C. There's no discussion or debate there.
No, I don't think there's because they talked about passing it down to McDavid, Four Nations, and like, no, it's not the time. Then they kind of talked about, well, the Olympics. Is this like Crosby's swan song here and these type of guys? But I don't even. I think McDavid has really pushed back against that from the media trying to like anoint him. So
I think if I'm McDavid, like he grew up. I mean, Crosby probably one of his heroes growing up. I don't think he wants to see if he's on the same team as Sidney Crosby, right?
And I think he's a little superstitious too. And if things are going well and they're winning and all that, then it's like, why change anything, right?
100%.
He gets enough of that pressure anyways in the fishbowl in Edmonton. So it's just like, oh, what's the point? Like, let me have a little reprieve. And that's what Brad Marchand added to this team last year with the media stuff. Like a lot of these guys, McKinnon, Crosby, McDavid, they don't love a mic. So like having those guys and having that character, and you're going to get Matthew Schaefer as a character and a personality. He's going to be the next guy doing all the interviews and all that stuff. He's already doing it now at 18, 19 years old. Right. So again, that's what I'm saying. Like, right. And I just wanted to click on the goalies there quickly. We don't really need to go over it. I just kind of hit that out of the park. So that's a big check mark there. I did have Thompson as the backup and then Kemper as the third there. So that's how it might kind of play out. I know a couple different things there with the Mark Stone, Jarvis, Brandon Montour, Scheifele, but like kind of that's how I would build this team. And I don't think having those guys there would have any different result of the team that they've announced now, right? So these would be guys that are on the bubble, guys that are in and out of the lineup, that are further down the lap, that are buying into a different role than they would be buying on their NHL team. There's going to be guys that are going to get similar roles here, like in a Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, but other guys like, even down to Reinhart and Point, it's going to be a way different role buy-in and deployment out there and different things that they're going to be asked. But Canada, they always go for the versatile players, Ryburn. And so I'll kind of remove that here.
To me, that's like the true test of do you belong on this team or do you not, right? Like if you belong on this team, you can embrace any role up or down the lineup. Right? Like that to me is a testament of how elite you are in your sport. This is the Olympics, right? This is for the best in the world. And so if you're the best in the world, you're going to embrace whatever role the coach needs you to take on. To me, anyway, that's what being an Olympian in the sport of hockey means, especially for Team Canada.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into all the other nation talk, but Alexander Barkov, Finland's going to miss him dearly with the experience and the leadership that he's even developed over the last 2 to 3 years here. Matthew Tkachuk coming off the injury, Brady Tkachuk as well, kind of the leaders of the USA. It's interesting with Austin Matthews with the captaincy there, but I think we kind of know who leads the charge there. It doesn't always mean you have to have that letter C on your jersey, just like Matthew Tkachuk does, and he's doing different things within the leadership program with the Panthers organization, not just having that C as well. So I think there is some nations that there is question there, and I think Canada has that in abundance, and I think it matters. And you and I talk about that all the time, Ryburn. I think leadership matters, and the cream of the crop rises. And I think people were sleeping on that last year when it came to what Canada had to bring. It was all like the things on paper that could be the deficiencies and things like that. But the way that Brad Marchand's playing, the way that Sidney Crosby, I was so impressed by Sidney Crosby starting that Four Nations tournament last year. I thought he was the leader and driver there before McDavid found his game. McKinnon going through different things there. Cale Makar's illness, the questions in net. Like Crosby was leading the charge from the beginning. So
100%. And he it wasn't just like a dressing room like talking thing, like that was on the ice. He did that on the ice.
Yes, right? It wasn't all, hey, this is what I did in the past, or hey, hey guys, what we need to do. He was leading by example on the ice and leading the charge. Right? Like, that's best on best, right? And if you guys want to, you guys argue about Russia's not there, whatever. Crosby would do the same thing to them. Okay, like you do the exact same thing to them. Like, get out of here. Like, if you guys want to defend Nikita Kucherov when Ryburn goes at him as a Leaf fan, we go him as a Panther fan. Get the hell out of here. Like, he's going to get in Crosby's way in the Olympics? Hell no. No one's going to deny Crosby, right? You know what I mean? So, like, you can look at it on paper and like, oh, well, Russia's not here and all this talent and all this ability and skill they have. Well, you know, they've come up short a lot more times than they have. You got to go back to the 70s, Ryburn.
You look at this would be fun, especially for people around our age, Kirby. Like, you go back when Crosby and Ovechkin came into the game, who always comes up when they go head to head? Who comes up on top? Whether it's an international competition or in the NHL, it's Sidney Crosby. He's not. Ovechkin's not sniffing him in the Olympics, right?
When Ovechkin came up in the Olympics, it's because Canada left Crosby at home.
Exactly. Yeah.
In turn or whatever, right? It's like Ovechkin's showcasing his abilities out there, and Kovalchuk back in the day doing all his chirps and all his talk. I had to deal with him as a Panther fan, and then I had to deal with him international. I had enough of that guy. But you know what I mean? Like, this is where this is a time in the USA program that they've never been this deep since 1996. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think Sweden had a very underwhelming performance in Four Nations. They need to rebound in a big way. They've won the Olympic. They were the last nation outside of Canada to win Olympic gold overseas. In turn, right? So there's that there. Finland is unfortunate with the Barkov thing. I think they would have a bit of a push there, but with their defense not up to par with some of these other nations. Again, like Sweden on paper looks dynamic, but they did not play well. They were not coached well. So again, you wonder with this Germany, you were going to get to see with Stützle and Leon Draisaitl. Like, I saw what Anze Kopitar did back in, was it 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver? Can you imagine what Leon Draisaitl is going to do? Kopitar was running all over the place on Slovenia. He had no other NHL players on his roster. I think he was the only NHL guy. And if they did have another guy, it might have been a depth guy. And he was dominating against, top-level competition teams. So, USA is in that group with Germany there. That'll be interesting. Canada in the group with Switzerland and Czechia. Switzerland's talent's a lot better. If you've looked at Czechia on paper, their goaltending, it might be better than Canada. Dolbosch and Dostal, like the way that they're playing, like that concerns me a little bit in an opening game, like if you get goalied or whatever, and you're trying to find your game early on the turn. But like, again, we've seen Canada lose that early round robin game before and rebound into form and win gold. So, but yeah, like the round robin is important. You're going to get the first two teams through in the group, and then you're going to have, I think, the two wild cards to get into that quarterfinal of 8. But yeah, you're going to see a little bit more hockey. You're going to see it officiated, and you're going to see it played a little bit differently too. So any closing thoughts, Ryburn, there? I'll get to some stuff in the chat here as well.
No closing thoughts from me other than let's go.
Hey, role model, you're right. But like I said, in 2014, didn't even need Carey Price. Had that defense back there. Now I think Canada's team's led up front, with McDavid and McKinnon and Crosby and on and on.
No question. Yeah.
Sam Reinhart could be, he's the second highest goal scoring in the last 3 years with up there with Austin Matthews or whatever. So I just think there's a lot of things there. Just get to some questions here. This will always be brought up. Again, I think this is on paper. What has McAvoy done in the playoffs? How far has Quinn Hughes gone, right? Great players, exceptional players. Cale Makar, Conn Smythe, Stanley Cup winner. Like, I think there is a level of difference there. Cale Makar wasn't even healthy, everyone, right? So it's like, again, yeah, it helps to be more healthy and have different things like that as well. So, and I don't want to discount what USA did. I thought they were very impressive how they played in Four Nations against Finland and different things like that as well. So, yes.
Matthews hit that post. Like, that could have been game right there in overtime.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that was razor thin.
Razor thin, right? Razor thin margins and different things like that. A lot of USA questions here. We'll get to those maybe on After Dark and things like that. I gotta look over that as well. People are filing in with comments on their roster and discussion and things like that. But just again, I want to give a mention here to our Matthew Tkachuk autograph frame contest. Make sure to join us on the Winter Classic members only stream planned to do tomorrow night around 8 p.m. Eastern time, give or take. See what our numbers are for that. Will be our first ever members only stream. And then January 2nd, we will be live streaming the New York Rangers and Florida Panthers. Scheduled to join me, I think, is our boy Nick Fairbanks from Locked On Podcast, Florida Panthers Network, our boy Banksy. But Ryburn, I appreciate your time here. I look forward to having you back on the podcast down the road when we talk about the Atlantic Division and all the wars there. Your team, the Leafs, and our team, the Panthers, have gone through some adversity this year. And trying to get through it.
Gotcha.
Adversity builds character. So it's been an interesting division talk this year. Hey.
Guest appearance from Gavin here.
There we go, Gavin. How's it going, Gavin? You guys were at the hockey game there last night in Kamloops. So yeah, Ryburn's our guy for prospects. I know we have a lot of people in our community that talk about Panthers prospects, stuff like that. So Ryburn's our WHL guy. He'll keep us up to date there. Oh, there's our other guy there too. We got to get to the World Junior Games here tonight. I think Dad's gonna get you all dressed up in the Team Canada jerseys, and the USA Sweden games is kicking off, or is going to kick off here. So really good hockey here tonight. Hello, boys.
Sorry.
Love the cameo here. But appreciate your time, Ryburn.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
always a blast.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryburn. And as always, we say on this stream, let's go Cats. But, this is our Canadian stream here, so let's go Canada.
What's up, Cats and Rats fans? If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button before you head out. If you're listening to us on Apple and Spotify, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. And just like always, let's go Cats!